There are two ways to approach any situation in life. One is a more passive approach where we just are flowing with everything that comes our way. And the second is more active, where we allow ourselves to really decide what we want and then take action towards getting what we want. I think at some point in our life we begin to ask questions about what makes our life meaningful, or something as simple as, what do I do when I wake up in the morning? At some point we do find an answer that satisfies us. But more often than not, we need some guidance, some advice, some external perspective to help us align ourselves. Just as when we do a yoga asana, we need someone on the outside to see whether our alignment is as perfect as it could be, or whether the posture is benefiting us or hurting us. In the same way, it is very useful to have an objective point of view. That was what the role of the teacher has always served, a point of view. A point of view that comes from decades of experience and knowledge that has been cultivated into wisdom through that experience. So when we ask this question of ourselves, I am seeking and I am looking for a teacher. Where do I find this teacher? Oftentimes we are informed that when the student is ready, the teacher appears in a sort of mystical way. That is related to the approach number one, where we are kind of just flowing with life. But what if the teacher just doesn't miraculously appear? What if finding a teacher is a skill to cultivate? And the earlier on we can recognize that we are cultivating this skill, the better we get at it. So what do I mean by that? Take a second to go back into your past, into your childhood, and recognize your first teacher. It could be anyone who you thought of as an inspiration at the time. What qualities did you resonate with in this teacher? Was it the way they spoke, the kind of examples they gave, the way they carried themselves through the world? Or was it something intangible that just evoked a deep sense of love and surrender in you? And as you reflect on this, you find that you've had many, many teachers already throughout your life, up to this point where you're sitting in this room watching this video. And each time you searched for a teacher, your skill or quality became more refined, more precise and in tune with what your needs were at that point of time. So the process of finding a good teacher is often about recognizing what are the qualities that we want to cultivate. It's about recognizing that the teacher that we do end up learning from is the one who benefit us the most, and also allow our own identity to melt. From a yogic point of view, the melting of the identity is that very yoga, is that very union that takes place in the presence of profound love or profound compassion. And ultimately, the teacher that we are seeking is not a being outside of us, but really our inner love and compassion. So there are these points to look out for when we seek outward. So is that person really inhabiting that love and compassion? So this is working at multiple levels. At the first level, when we are in the presence of a teacher, we feel good. But just feeling good or bad can be deceptive. So it's important to use our logical reasoning to check the qualities of the teacher. That might mean doing ample research into the teacher's lineage or the methodologies that they teach, whether those methodologies are resonating with us, are in line with our own values. Then we also check the teacher by asking the students of the teacher, what is it that they resonate with? When we hear answers like surrender and deep faith, anything that seems too good to be really true, it's a good question to ask oneself. Blind faith results in incorrect decisions. A faith that has been questioned and sort of refined is durable and will last through time. So the third aspect is to ask of the teacher themselves directly, to get into a conversation with the teacher in some way or the other. It doesn't matter at what level they are. The being can teach you if you are in contact with the being in some way or the other. Now, I'm not talking about seeing your teacher in dreams or in visions or in hallucinations. I'm talking about actual, real, manifested interaction. And asking the questions of the teacher that you want to ask. And noticing when they respond, how are you able to integrate what is being said? Are you feeling distanced? Are you feeling challenged? Are you feeling motivated? As long as you feel something, you know that there is something that this teacher can offer you. But if you don't feel anything at all whatsoever, then naturally you will forget the entire interaction. And that's totally okay. But then we also have to introspect and ask ourselves, what are the qualities within the student that matter to a teacher? And why do we ask this of ourselves? Because if we want a good teacher, we must be a good student. Understanding what it means to be a good student involves looking at your life and your lifestyle in this moment. Looking at qualities like discipline, at diligence, at courage, and most importantly, at curiosity. Without discipline, how are we to not shop around for teachers, going from one teacher to the other, to the other, to the other, to the other? And developing discipline often means you've done that. You've explored many teachers, and in the process of that, you've decided, now I will be committed to this one, what we call our root teacher. That doesn't mean that the root teacher will not change. Of course, the being is human. They will also change in their interior world, and they will also one day pass away. That doesn't mean we cultivate attachment to the teacher. We cultivate interest in the teachings of the teacher. And the real discipline is in practicing and following those teachings in our daily life. And diligence is so important because when obstacles come our way, when challenges come our way, of course, we might be sidetracked, we might be hurt, or we might be distracted. But diligence is remembering to come back to where the teachings are pointing us, to what the teacher is trying to show us in that moment. It's about failing and learning from failure rather than failing and becoming averse to failure. Courage involves being able to listen to and comprehend the entirety of the teachings, to enact the teachings, to integrate them so fully that we allow the teachings to kind of melt the identity. If the identity is like a cube of ice, the teachings are like warm water. And we are that cube of ice in this moment. So we let the warm water over time dissolve that. And as ice dissolves into water, it is an uncomfortable process. It's very difficult. It feels like you are moving through great instability in your interior world. Things are changing. You feel that you have no control over what is being changed. But that is the power of teaching. That is the power of the yogic pointing out teaching. When you know the nature of how things are, of how your mind is, then naturally all concepts dissolve. Curiosity is a natural outcome of being alive. Because we are born from a childhood, we are naturally curious about everything and anything without fear. Society, conditioning has caused us to suppress or repress this curious urge. But being curious is beautiful because it opens us up to receiving so much more than whatever box the conditioning has put us in. It opens us to new ways of loving and being compassionate. It opens us to new experiences and communities and sources of joy. And ultimately, it opens us up to our own true nature, which is limitless and blissful, beyond any concept. So when we develop these qualities in some way or the other, as a student, we open ourselves to receiving. When we choose our teacher, we embody the qualities of the teacher. And if we go through this process with awareness, all our negative qualities fade away. Or rather, the negative qualities are seen from a different point of view. And this different kind of seeing changes the way we interact with those qualities, and the way those qualities through us interact with our friends, our family, our community, the world. So this is an opportunity to reflect on what is it that you want. What is the teacher able to offer you? Recognizing that you and the teacher are meeting at one point, and when that meeting happens, everything dissolves. There is just space to be, to learn, to grow, not separately but together. So that is the essence of Guru. Although the word Guru is overused, let's call the teacher a spiritual friend. Because ultimately the teacher is equal to the student, and the student is equal to the teacher. Sarva Mangalam.